banana. Oh, banana.
One named Reluctant Hand Job did a $5 super chat. What a name. And they said, I'm just learning of you from documentaries. So many questions. Please explain empty game boxes as prizes. Yes, I never sent empty game boxes as prizes. It never happened, okay? That's a meme that was made up by my detractors over a decade ago, and for some reason it stuck, even though it's not true at all.
Welcome to the Hardcore Gaming Season giveaway of 2013. Alright, the very first item I'm giving away is Deus Ex Human Revolution's Collector's Edition content. So let me show you what exactly that is. Okay, this is Deus Ex Human Revolution Collector's Edition. Comes with this very nifty collector's box on the inside. Comes with a few things. First of all, Collector's Edition packaging. As you open that up, you're going to see the game's gone because I traded it in years ago, but it does have the second bonus disc that probably has the behind-the-scenes content and stuff like that, okay? Yeah, how much would you like to have that autographed by me? Pretty cool, right?
So I used to do something every fall. It was called the Hardcore Gaming Season Giveaway. And what it was weekly, once a week, for like 12 straight weeks, I would hold a contest where people would enter by posting up on my forums for something that I was giving away. And there was tons of different things that I gave away. Sometimes I actually gave away a game. Sometimes I gave away a collectible. Sometimes I'm trying to remember all the things that I gave away over the years, but it was a lot of different variety of things. But frequently during the fall, it was giving away games because the fall was the biggest gaming season of the year. All right. So there'd be games coming out nonstop. And so, for example, let's say I played, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a game that I played like back in the day. I don't know, an Assassin's Creed game, let's say. So I would beat the game, and then I would say, okay, so now we're going to do a giveaway for the game. So people would post up in the thousands. Sometimes we got like 2,000 posts on my forums, people interested in winning the game. But it wasn't just the game you would win. You would get the game, the box, any packaging materials and things that came with it, because back then games actually used to come with, you know, things in there, not only the instruction book, but ads and other things. But also I would include an autograph. Some people would say, hey, can you sign the box? Can you sign the instruction manual? Can you sign the game disc itself? Because that's cool to have the physical thing you use during your playthrough or whatever, okay? Now, also other times, I would buy the collector's edition of a game, okay? So I would have an art book, and I would have the soundtrack, and I would have the, you know, extra things that come with it, whatever they may be, because there's usually a lot of stuff that comes with the collector's edition. So sometimes I would give away the collector's edition materials of a game that you could not buy. You had to have bought the collector's edition to get it. And sometimes the collector's editions were sold out. So you had no way to even get that content, even if you wanted it. So most of the time, all right, when I gave stuff away, it was stuff that I didn't need anymore, stuff that I had already beaten the game or whatever. There was a few exceptions to that rule. Sometimes I would want to hold on to a game because I knew that maybe a DLC would be coming out for it, and you still needed the original game discs to play the DLC. In other cases, there was like a huge deal at GameStop where if you traded in like 5 games at once, you'd get like tons of bonus money. This is a long time ago. They don't do this anymore. But there were some cases where like 3 games would come out in a week. I'd beat all 3 in a week, trade them in, and get almost like all my money back. I get like 60, 70% of my money back for the trade-ins because I beat them so fast and traded them in right away. So there were some cases where I didn't have the games anymore, but I was still left with other stuff. Like, for example, I would have a steel box case for a game that I don't need anymore. I would have the art book, and I would have the soundtrack and stuff like that. So there were times when I would do a giveaway and say, okay, guys, so just to be clear, this will not include the game. I have to keep the game because of DLC, or I already traded in the game, but you're getting all this other content otherwise. Plus, whatever you want autographed or whatever, you can have. And people would enter for this in the thousands. I'm telling you, like, there was times thousands of people would post up, and I would use a random number generator to just pick a random number and select that person, and they would win it, and I would ship them all that stuff. So when you hear Phil gave away an empty game box, it's not like I would say, hey, everyone, look, here's the game I played this week, and I'm keeping the game, and I'm going to mail you the box. That's the reward for a contest. No, people outright knew what they were entering for. They knew the content that they were getting. They would want to autograph in addition. You were getting a lot of stuff if you won the contest. It wasn't just, oh, an empty game box and nothing else. But it's easy to say that when you just want to spin it in a very negative way. You know? So I particularly, if I'm remembering correctly, the one that people bring up, I think it was a Deus Ex game where I'd bought the collector's edition that had all of this extra shit. I remember, I think it had the art book. I think it had a separate DVD that was like a documentary of the making of the game, something like that.
Winner for the Puppeteer on PS3, and then we're going to actually pick what's going to be the next giveaway. Mass Effect 3 Collector's Edition, but the game is not in it. So to warn everyone, just to show you for full disclosure, no game. However, you get this really cool steelbook case.
That and other stuff. And the person who won the contest said, hey, can you autograph this for me and this? And I always did. So I sent them a whole bunch of shit. And then my detractors were like, so he gave me, or he gave out an empty box. No, I didn't. I gave a whole bunch of content and an autograph. That was what the contest was for. And literal hundreds plus people wanted it. And one lucky person won it. What's wrong with that? Right now, if I did a contest for my autograph, people would enter for it because I don't give autographs. It's a rare thing to get my autograph, right? People would probably say, oh man, I would like to get a DSP autograph, but, and then people would enter for it. So let me get this straight. If I did that right now, all right, would people say, oh, Phil just has a contest for a piece of paper? The thing is that everyone has different value to everything. And I did give away things that were very valuable. Do you remember at the launch of PlayStation 4, I gave away a PlayStation 4 to a fan? I did. That happened. But that's the thing. No one talks about that. No one wants to talk about the fact that I did the hardcore gaming season giveaway for like 6-7 straight years. And I always gave away tons of stuff that had value, games, collectibles, actual consoles, and other shit. No one wants to say that. They just want to say, Phil gave away empty game boxes. It's just like everything. If you take something out of context and you spin it in your own toxic way for your own bizarre purposes, you can get anyone to believe anything because there's so many morons on this planet. There's still to this day people who think I'm terrible at Street Fighter. There's still to this day people who think I've never been good at any game I've ever played. The infamous example of that was the dumb meme back when I was playing Doom a few months ago, where someone clipped out of context me in a room taking cover and then firing a little and taking cover and firing a little. And they're like, this is how this games journalist plays Doom. He's terrible at the game. And everyone laughs. Oh, he should just not play the game. He should delete the game, whatever. That was the one room in the game where you had to play like that because the room is full of explosive barrels that if you go charging in head first, they blow up and you instantly die. You have to play it safe. That's the one room in the game you have to do that. I know because I had already died in that room. I charged in playing it like Doom and blew everything up and I died. I said, oh shit, I didn't know that. So then I had to redo the room and play it carefully so I didn't die. But if you take it out of context and give it to a bunch of ignorant idiots, the ignorant idiots will eat it up and give you views and give you viral popularity. And that's why people do this shit. So when you hear Phil gave away empty game boxes, that's one insanely small piece of a giant picture that's taken out of context to make it sound bad, but it's not actually what happened. Just like, oh, you see, this is how this guy, Phil, the games journalist, plays Doom. No, that's how I played one tiny part of Doom where you're required to play like that because otherwise you die instantly. But don't show the rest of my gameplay of Doom, right? Don't show me playing Street Fighter and kicking everyone's ass. Don't show me playing Mario Kart World and beating my detractors as they're stream sniping me and still win. Don't show the moments of good gameplay and greatness that actually are true. Instead, take something out of context and lie about it so you can get your laughs and your views and your memes, right? How dumb is that? Incredibly fucking stupid. Do I get paid for my Twitter? No. What do you mean? Do I get paid for my Twitter? How would I get paid for my Twitter? To my knowledge, the only people who make money on Twitter are people who content farm to get views on a monetized account so that and you have to get like millions of views and then you'll make some money. Are you crazy? Like, no one engages with me on Twitter besides trolls because everyone's afraid to get stalked, harassed, doxxed, and attacked by trolls. So no one's going to engage with me positively on Twitter because they're afraid of the repercussions. There are thousands of people who see all my tweets. If you take a look at my actual engagement statistics on Twitter, almost no one responds to my tweets, but everyone reads them. That's correct. When people steal my content, post it out of context to do one of these social media posts, and they're getting millions of views, they're probably making good money on that. I would bet they're probably making, I'm not kidding, hundreds to thousands of dollars on those posts, which are completely disingenuous garbage, but people are too fucking mouth-drooling stupid to know the difference. So they just laugh at it and think it's funny, that they move on to the next meme that they found on Twitter or the next thing they saw on TikTok. That's how dumb they are. They're just fucking morons. Why did I stop using Instagram? Because I stopped sharing everything with the internet because I wanted to have a private life. I stopped using Instagram when I made the determination that people were going to use information that I shared on the internet negatively towards myself and my family and everybody else, and I was going to stop sharing everything. So I stopped taking pictures of my private life. Now, very rarely do I show you anything, right? And that's intentional. And things have gotten a hell of a lot better in my life since I stopped doing that. For sure, 100%. What do I do that makes so many people angry with me and want to participate and hate toward me? Well, the people we're talking about, for example, people involved in these memes and things, okay? That's different. The people who watch those memes and all of that, that has nothing to do with mainstream haters or anything like that. These are ignorant people who don't even know who I am. So they watch the clip and they laugh and they move on to the next clip. There's no mean-spirited hate towards me from the social media posts, like people watching those posts. That's not the case. The case is people have found out that monetizing negativity towards me is profitable. That if you take toxic content about Darkside Phil, that people will watch it, engage, support with it, and make money. That's the truth. It's for me, the reason why people do it is because they benefit. They would not be doing it if they weren't making bank doing it. If all the monetization of it went away, it would end overnight. They would move on to something else that they could try to basically grift. You know, it didn't used to be like that. There legit used to be people so obsessed with me that they would do it just for the love of trying to ruin my life. But I don't really legit think that happens anymore. I actually think that these are just grifters. Loose Lucy says, Doody tried to monetize wings before. It completely failed, so now he moved on to you. Right. Again, that's all they're doing. They're grifters. It's that simple. If there was no money to be had, they would move on. They would not be here. They would not be watching my content, doing negative stuff with it. They're only here to make money. So. All right. Well, everyone, I guess it's time to end the show. So remember today, horror returns. We're going to try out this Luto game and see if it's scary or anything good. I'm curious. We'll find out. And tonight, the return of